Welcome into the FCS Football Betting Show. I'm Drew Martin alongside Robbie Veno and Mr. Mejia, Tony Mejia, both from WagerTalk.com. Guys, we're talking FCS football here. We got 3 games for this weekend. We're breaking them down from a Vegas perspective. We got best bets at the end. Good show here, guys. Looking to grab more winners than losers. First up, Robbie Veno. Welcome in, buddy. How you feeling? Yeah, that's a good point there, Robbie. Usually talking this time of year, the Sports Memo podcast via maybe some spring football. In recent years we've been able to bet that, but we got real football action here, teams on teams, FCS style. And Tony Mejia, WagerTalk.com. Welcome in, buddy. How you doing this Friday morning?
Hey, how are you, Drew? I am on a one-game winning streak in FCS football. I got the under in Jacksonville State, Tennessee Tech last week. I actually watched North Dakota and South Dakota with no action yesterday, which was wild, just to be up for this show and get some knowledge because these teams are completely new to me. We really, at least I don't, bet on the FCS until the playoffs. So we have so much with the FBS during the regular season that the FCS really doesn't come into my radar until late in that season where games are most important to them and the FBS schedule thins out. So yeah, this is a completely new experience, but I'm completely on board with it because I think come April, once March Madness is over and it's just baseball and basketball professional that we're dealing with, I think FCS football is going to be a very big deal in the betting market.
Yeah, you're right, Tony. I mean, it's really going to be going up against what baseball and then I guess the NBA playoffs as well. But it's good to have a good foundation here, guys, going into the mainstay here of FCS football. Robbie Vino's been doing it for a while. Tony Mejia, it's new to him, but guess what, guys? It's new to odds makers as well, so they're trying to grasp as much information as possible, as are we as sports bettors. Shout out to Joe Ranieri and Chris Allen behind the scenes making this show happen as well. But Robbie, before we break down these 3 games this weekend, is there anything you wanted to throw out there to the watchers in terms of what you learned last week in FCS football that can help us going forward as sports bettors?
From FBS football, but in the FCS, struggled a little bit last year. But there were some reports that Paul Petrino has his team on the move this year, and they open up with a victory over Eastern Washington. So watch out for Idaho. Certain things from betting angles just to look at this week, guys. There's 19 teams that are going to play in their first game this week. We're now into what they would call, or what they're calling week 4. Actually, the first week of the year was only one game. But 4 weeks in, you've got 19 teams playing their first game. And in 4 of those games, you've got a team that's got action under their belt against a team that's just coming in for the first time. Those 4 games, for anybody interested that wants to write them down, Grambling is at home against Jackson State. It's Grambling's first game. Presbyterian is at Gardner-Webb. Gardner-Webb, a huge upset of Elon last week. Presbyterian in their first game. Arkansas Pine Bluff in their first game against Southern U, who's already played. And Cal Davis. Dan Hawkins drew Cal Davis.
Oh, yeah.
they take the field for the first time against the previously mentioned Idaho team. So I think that you want to pay attention to those. If you blindly bet underdogs last week, just mechanically said I'm going to bet every underdog on the board, you're 16, 7, and 1. That's 69.6%. Not too bad. Unders went 13 and 10. Missouri Valley Conference obviously was turned upside down with some of the upsets. And there's already 4 games postponed this week. We've seen that every week, and we will probably continue to see that throughout the season.
Good breakdown there, Robbie. I mean, talking unders, underdogs, I don't know, sharp marketplace. We got 2 sharp guys here, guys, breaking them both down. Saturday's games, 12 noon kickoff. That's the East Coast. We got 9 a.m. Pacific kick here, kicking it off in the FCS breakdown for this week. Southern Illinois, a team Robbie just talked about, a surprising win. Now they're having to lay 7 on the road here, Tony, against Youngstown State, 43.5 being a total. Low total off the board or out the gate here, plus -7 after a big win here, Tony. Is this a letdown spot for the Salukis? What do you think in game 1?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, it's a letdown spot. You put any team coming off ending a 39-game winning streak the way that they did against North Dakota State, and you figure there's going to be a letdown next. Look, I got to use my AccuWeather in April, so in March, pardon me. So that's always fun, and there will be wind gusts at Youngstown at the Ice Castle. No snow, but it's going to be windy at Stambaugh Stadium, and the Penguins are looking for not only their first win, but their first points at home. New head coach there in Doug Phillips, so I think from that standpoint, you'll probably see a limited offensive game plan. Then you have Southern Illinois, which won that game against North Dakota State by holding the ball for over 40 minutes. They were lights out on 3rd down. So we should see the clock run here with gusty winds. I don't trust either quarterback. I think the total is low for a reason. This is one of those games where my one win last week was on the under in Tennessee Tech and Jacksonville State. And I think I'm going to go back to the underwell here, even though the number is at 43.5. Youngstown State struggled on 3rd down in their last game. So, the Salukis will probably look for that same type of approach to contain the football and keep everything in front of them because, from my understanding, it's Youngstown State's main weapon is their pass rush. So conservative approach on offense. Hopefully the wind is a factor and the under will come in.
All right, Tony. Robbie, Tony pointing us towards, wins, superior pass rush here for the underdog. I don't know. This has underwritten all over it just from kind of a glimpse view here of game 1. Early start as well, Robbie. What do you think in Southern Illinois, Youngstown State?
Well, let's start real quick, Drew, with the underdog here, Youngstown State. The concerns that they had for this team going in started to show up already after 2 weeks, right? New head coach, Tony mentioned him, Doug Phillips, was the running backs coach at Cincinnati. New offensive system, new defensive system. Unlike FBS football, Drew, when you, I, and Ralph were doing this show and we were talking about teams that only had the opportunity to learn playbooks in new systems via Zoom meetings and stuff like that, they didn't get any real on-field practice time. We had numerous weeks where we were talking about teams that had 0 spring practice, limited fall practice. For Youngstown State, they actually had a couple of fall practices and then some spring practices, so they got to get on the field, but it hasn't really helped much at all right now. It's a team that only returned 25 players from the 2019 team, so you got a young team, inexperienced at most spots, new head coach, new offensive system, new defensive system. All that is shown up in their first 2 games. They're 0-2 straight up. They are 1-1 against the spread because even though they got beat pretty soundly, they did cover North Dakota State. But here are some numbers. They've been outscored 46-7. They've been outrushed 434 to 122. That's minus 312 at the line of scrimmage in just 2 games. Tony talked about their so-called strength is supposed to be pass rush. They've got 0 quarterback sacks in 2 games, so that hasn't come to fruition yet. 17 offensive possessions for this team. These numbers are mind-boggling, guys. 17 offensive possessions. And I took out the 2 that were halftime kneel-down situations. 17 offensive possessions, 15 punts, 8 3-and-outs. 3 out of the 17 drives have crossed midfield. They've only had 3 drives where they gained 36 yards or more. That's not conducive to a lot of points. So where the under is concerned, Tony's play makes a lot of sense. Southern Illinois, also a team that prefers to run the football. Threw it a little more in week 1 against North Dakota because they were behind. They were chasing, but they are a run-first team. And they had that major bounce back last week against North Dakota State. I think because they lost a conference game in week 1 to North Dakota, there's no time for letdowns here in a short season and in a conference as rugged as the Missouri Valley. So I think they'll be up for the challenge here. They win the total yardage battle last week against North Dakota State, 443 to 268. That's pretty big. SIU games so far, guys, they've totaled 65 and 52. Both of those are over the number. YSU games, they've totaled 32 and 21. Both of them are under the number. I like the favorite. I think they'll win by double digits. Youngstown State with their dual quarterback, they haven't really settled on a quarterback yet. Just struggling to find any rhythm offensively. But under 43.5 in a game that should be dominated by the rushing attacks and, of course, maybe some weather conditions makes a lot of sense as well.
All right, good start here, guys. FCS football show, 1 game down, 2 to go. We got best bets at the end, so you don't want to go anywhere. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific kick for this next one. Robbie, coming back at you. McNeese State and Southeastern Louisiana, 57 being the total. We got SEL, I'm guessing is their moniker here, minus 10.5 at home. Battle for Louisiana, Robbie. What are you thinking in game 2?
Well, I'm in love with Southeast Louisiana because they provided me a winner last week as an underdog against Sam Houston State. In that game, Drew, I think we knew heading in what was going to happen as far as offense from Southeastern Louisiana is concerned. It's a team under Frank Selfo that has taken to up-tempo offense. I think they were 8th in the nation, FCS last full season, 2019. Actually made the playoffs and then got destroyed by Montana. But they had to change quarterbacks. Previous quarterback left, new quarterback in, new quarterback, 6'7" sophomore Cole Kelly. Did a lot of good things in his freshman year. Set records for highest completion percentage ever at that university by a freshman, highest quarterback rating ever by a freshman at SEL. And last week, he didn't skip a beat. I mean, in last season, he had 10 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns, all as a backup. But last week, he torched what was and what was expected to be this season the absolute best Southland Conference defense in Sam Houston State. I mean, they ranked number 3 nationally in 2019, bring a ton of guys back. I think 7 All-Americans overall, a number 1 rush front, and very good against the pass as well. But Southeast Louisiana passed them silly in that game, 462 yards. Kelly in that game goes 36 of 53 for 462, 4 TDs, no interceptions. And the receiving core, when you watch these guys play, I mean, the top 2 are elite FCS receivers, C.J. Turner, Austin Mitchell. They combined for 21 catches, 292 yards, 3 TDs. So against what is the best and one of the FCS nation's best defenses, this Southeast Louisiana up-tempo, pass-oriented offense shredded them. They had 7 drives of 55 or more yards. They had 4 TD drives of 72 or more yards. Problem for them, their defense was worse than the offense was good. Defense last week gives up 672 yards. Sam Houston crushes them, rushing, passing, whatever they wanted to do, they did, and route to the small 43-38 victory. That issue probably won't stick out as much this week against McNeese State, but I do expect McNeese State to score their share of points. For McNeese State, quarterback Cody Ogeron, Ed Ogeron's son, very good runner, good passer, directs an offense that so far in 2 games against Tarleton State and Incarnate Word has done their job on the scoreboard, but their defense has been lit up both games. Remember the Tarleton State game, that was the season opener. It does go overtime, but before overtime, just regulation, 31 points allowed. They give up 400 yards for the game against Incarnate Word, another up-tempo. I think that's important here because Incarnate Word head coach Eric Morris comes from the Texas Tech system, air raid. Incarnate Word lights him up for 518 total yards last week, and a lot through the air, 200 plus on the ground. Southeast Louisiana offensively is going to have their way here, guys. After what they just did to the number 1 defense, I can only imagine what they're going to do to this defense. McNeese will get their points as well because Southeast Louisiana's defense just isn't that good. When I saw 56.5, that total stood out to me. Now, like Tony, I got to use a weather source. I think I used Weather Underground, Tony. I should go to AccuWeather. But Weather Underground says the temperature between 7 and 11 is going to be really good. There's no precipitation. High-scoring game, guys. I think over 56.5 is a real bargain here.
Yeah, the way you're explaining that, Robbie, that's me looking at this total as well. 56.5, 57 out there to the over. Coach O's son throwing it around. That was a little tidbit there. Caught my attention, Robbie. Good stuff. And Tony, coming to you, man. What are you thinking with the battle between Louisiana schools?
Yeah, I'm going with the over here too. And Rob sold me on SLU. I think they're SLU. They were in the TAC when I was at UCF early on, and it's not a small school because I think it's one of the larger ones in Louisiana, but it's in a small place. It's in Hammond. And I think that from that standpoint, these are two offensive juggernauts in terms of what they want to accomplish. Frank Wilson, the former head coach at Texas San Antonio, took over there, and Rob mentioned the Tarleton State OT win, and then giving up 48 points to a team that wants to go up tempo doesn't bode well for going up against a Frank Selfo coach team. So the over, I think, is lights out the way to go. And then if Southeastern Louisiana feels comfortable at home, they could put up a big number here. The total looks a little low to me. Maybe we get a nice 42-31 game, a little less than that for the visiting Cowboys, and then we'll catch both. So give me the over and SLU.
All right, looking for points in SLU. My apologies out there to any SLU graduates and calling them SEL at the beginning. So, hey, it's FCS football, guys. It's about grabbing winners, and obviously Robbie Veno and Tony Mejia know what they're talking about here. And check them both out at WagerTalk.com, guys. Talk about March and a great time to be a sports bettor. Both of these two guys obviously putting in their homework. We got college basketball, NBA, FCS football. Don't forget about spring training, not only pitchers and catchers, but MLB right around the corner. So WagerTalk.com, a lot of stuff available there, guys. Check it out, WagerTalk.com. $9 Monday, $2 Tuesday as well. So two good days to check out the website. We got one more game, guys, and then we're going to best bets. This one turning the page to Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific kick here. We got Murray State at Southeastern Missouri State. Southeastern Missouri State minus 12-point home favorites here. 48.5 being the total. March 7th, 3 p.m. That's Sunday here, Robbie. What are you thinking, Murray State versus Southeastern Missouri State?
Well, Southeast Missouri State, Drew, last week. I love them, and then I hate them. I played that game under last week, the game involving Southeast Missouri State, and I played it predicated on the thought that their defense was going to be as good as any in the Ohio Valley. They were good last year, and they did turn out to be extremely good in their contest last week, held their opponent to 7 points. However, they were too good because they pick off a pass with 57 seconds left in the game and run it back for a touchdown and send the game over the total. I had hung on by a thread because at halftime, guys, this game I think was 34-7. And I'm staring at under 49.5 and 41 at halftime and thinking I can't win this game. And then you get all the way to the minute mark in the game with a team that's behind by 5 touchdowns. And, well, they throw an interception and send the game over. So for Southeast Missouri, it was a really good defensive day. Let me just tell you where their scoring drives or how many total yards their scoring drives total here. They had a touchdown drive of 10 yards, another one of 10 yards, one of 34 yards, one of 17 yards, 26 yards, 19 yards, and then an INT return for a touchdown. So all told, guys, that's 7 scoring drives for Southeast Missouri last week. the most of which totaled 34 yards. It was crazy because it was 14-0 second quarter, and the other side goes for a 4th and 1 from their own 30-yard line. And I'm thinking in the second quarter, what do you do? And that just broke the game wide open. SEMO goes in for a touchdown, was case closed. The Murray State game, I almost got as unfortunate in because it was a weather situation. I had Murray State under because the weather was really bad in Murray, Kentucky last week. And the game is a dead under into the middle of the third quarter, into late third quarter when they have to stop it for lightning. And they don't come back. And they don't come back. And I'm looking at the scoreboard, and they don't come back. About 2 hours later, they did come back and finish that game out. Because if I'd have lost that one, I'd have probably gotten a little teed off that day. You can't take too many of those rough losses. But they did play an under. There's a lot of insiders in this Murray State program that feel like it's as the most underrated team in the OVC and maybe the best team they've had there in the last few years. And I took a good look at them. It's hard to judge off of a game that was played in those types of conditions, but they did do some good things. They held UT Martin, which is an explosive offense, to 213 total yards, only 3.5 per play. I'm going to take my shot with the underdog here, guys. I'm going to buy in that Murray State is an underrated team that has a pretty decent defense, and that Southeast Missouri won't get 7 scores this week of 36 yards or less.
All right, Tony, coming to you here. Game 3, we got the Racers and the Redhawks squaring off Sunday, 3 p.m. What are you thinking here? Game number 3, FCS.
Well, I didn't sit through the Murray State game against Tennessee Martin, so not as familiar with these teams. I saw that their Murray's main offensive play was I think a very long touchdown pass from Preston Rice to Daquan Dallas, and then everything else was torrential downpour, followed by the lightning delay that Rob referenced. They have a new head coach, Dean Hood, longtime head coach in that conference, who was at Eastern Kentucky previously. So things are new. They're coming off a victory. I'm sure everybody's feeling really good about themselves. I'm going to go the other way on this, though. I think that they hit the wall against SEMO on the road. SEMO has a 12-game regular season home winning streak. Their defense that Rob mentioned forced 4 turnovers and are pretty fierce. Their quarterback is Andrew Bunch, formerly of Nebraska. He had a cup of coffee there, but he was there for a while. And in that system, I think you pick up a lot. He threw for over 300 yards and a score in that victory against the overmatched team that they just faced. So to me, I think SEMO is the stronger play, and hopefully this is a game that I'll probably end up touching and watching. So I'll probably be really chomping at the bit, hoping they hold on to a lead late since you're laying over 12 points.
Yeah, we got Sunday action here, guys. FCS football to go along with college basketball and NBA. Great breakdowns here from Tony and Rob. Check them out, WagerTalk.com. Also, don't forget, guys, about SportsMemo.com. Also doing $9 Monday, $2 Tuesday. Great time to check out SportsMemo.com. A lot of great handicappers there as well. So both websites heating up, and as well as the Gold Sheet. So a lot of sports betting information, a lot of free picks, a lot of free content, and of course, great discounts as well. Mondays and Tuesdays, both great days to check out the sites. $9 Monday, $2 Tuesday. We got best bets here, guys. We've been waiting for a little while, and not going to have to wait anymore. Tony, where are we going? FCS best bet for the week, buddy.
Well, I won with Jacksonville State's total, so I'm not going to try to win with Jacksonville State. I love their hashtags. Fear the beak. That's fantastic. Stay cocky. Really? All right. Let's do it.
All right.
They forced 5 turnovers and rushed for 274 yards against Tennessee Tech. Got a really good running back in Uriah West. And although last season's game against Tennessee State was tight, Jacksonville State won that one. I don't see the Tigers having much of a home field edge because they play their home games at Nissan Stadium. So without much of a crowd there where the Titans play in Nashville. So yeah, I like Jacksonville State. I'm going to lay the points.
Okay, Jacksonville State. And what points did you lay here for the best bet, Tony?
I think it's double digits.
Okay, so double digits here with Jacksonville State for Tony. And then Robbie, what are you liking for best bets, man?
19.5.
We got that. Okay, 19.5. All right, Drew. Listen, I don't have to go back real far. As I always do on all these shows, I pick a best bet from the games that we've discussed, and all I have to do is go back to what we talked about with Southeast Louisiana, McNeese State. To me, 56.5, even if I have to take 57, it's just a low number. Southeast Louisiana is more than likely to find their way to 38 points or better. The other side can probably find their way to 27 points. If I think that's a minimum, and that's 65 right there, that makes it a pretty easy over. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing shoot up a little bit. We know that it doesn't take a lot of money to move these FCS lines. So if you see something you like, you really have to get in quick because these numbers can explode. And usually on game day, just by seeing what we've seen the first 2 weeks, that has happened in a few situations here where we've seen 3-4 point moves, especially, and I'll reference back to Tony's best bet because the OVC plays standalone football on Sundays. So there's only 4 games on Sunday, and it's all of that conference for the most part. So those games get bet pretty heavily for FCS standards. But I do think that Southeast Louisiana McNeese easily climb over 56.5. So that'll be my best bet for the week.
All right, good stuff. Robbie Veno. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Veno Sports. We got Tony Mejia on Twitter at Mejia Dinero. I'm going the same game here, Robbie. And hearing you talk about Southeastern Louisiana and McNeese State to the over. Also, what you had to say there about Southeastern Louisiana and their offense. I think that they're actually going to cover this spread 10.5, guys. So nothing crazy here, but best bets for the show. I'm going with Southeast Louisiana minus 10.5. We got Robbie Veno, McNeese State, Southeastern Louisiana, over 56.5. And we got Tony Mejia, Jacksonville State minus 19.5. Heavy favorite there in early game on Saturday. So Tony Mejia, Robbie Veno, great breakdowns, guys. I'm Drew Martin. Thanks for tuning in. If you could please smash the like button and feel free to comment below if you're watching on replay, guys. Best of luck this weekend and all your bets, especially the FCS football. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and have a fun, safe weekend.